Hey everyone, you're listening to the Fierce Feminine podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Harrison from melissacatherineharrison.com. In the near decade I've been coaching powerful women, I've found one of the biggest problems we face is not trusting our intuition and acting on it enough, not trusting ourselves enough. More fulfillment, more enjoyment, and more success always follow when we trust the intuitive nudges. So what stops us, and how can we tune in more? On this show, I sit down with incredible women to discuss their take on this, examples of them following the nudges, and the strategies they take so we can all do the same and rise together. I'm so glad you're joining us. Welcome back to the Fierce Feminine podcast. Today's guest is Samantha Shea. Samantha, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Would you mind kicking us off with sharing a little bit about your personal background, maybe your family of origin, some hobbies and interests, anything you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah. So born and raised South Shore, Massachusetts, still here. I have migrated around a little bit, but that's where I am. I'm still here. And I'm a dog lover. My family is American, white. There's a mix of what we are. No one really is sure. I just feel like I'm just a galactic being here in a body. And some of my interests are, I love being in nature. I've really become a homebody and like an introvert the last few years after stepping into this whole like spiritual realm. And so like partying doesn't really faze me, tickle me anymore. It's like walking in nature, hanging out with people, and just like maybe having a glass of wine and just talking like spiritual or deep and like tell me about like your favorite animal. Like what would you be? Very not surface level stuff anymore. And I'm an oncology nurse and now a spiritual business owner.
Oh, it's amazing. So could you share a little bit about your professional path, like what that looked like for you?
Yeah, so out of high school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And there's all this pressure, right? Like what to do. So I went to business and fashion because I liked clothes. And then I said, this isn't the world for me. I always felt like there was something more. And then I had a cancer scare at 20 when I was living in Florida for school. And I felt very like alone when that experience happened. And it was in a very private area down there. And I was like, oh, this is awkward. And then it shifted my whole like mindset. Something within me clicked. And I was like, I want to be a nurse. So I left that, the second college that I tried, and I started my prereqs for nursing. And then I was like, I really want to do oncology nursing. And a year after I graduated, I left the rehab I was working in and got what I thought at the time was my dream job. I worked at a beautiful hospital in Boston on an oncology floor. And still had this feeling of like, there's something more for me, but I don't know what it is. So I got my master's in clinical education. Still wasn't satisfied. It was like that void in me, like, what is going on? And I realized I was getting very depressed and sick. And a lot of the patients were coming to me while I was sleeping. Like I'd be having dreams and I would see them before I had them. And then when I had them, I knew when they were going to die, which was terrible. I saw everything that was wrong with them inside. I knew the root cause of it. It was just this, like, these, what I call downloads coming in. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, I thought I was going crazy. And I was taking in everyone's energy. So I was like, this isn't okay. Like, what's happening? Right.
Yeah.
And so I sat outside one night and I was like, universe, I feel like I'm going down a dark path. I feel super crazy. I've been getting these weird sicknesses. Like, what's going on? If there's a God, like, speak to me.
Now's the time.
And I literally heard the word energy and I was like, who's that? What is that? And the next day in my email, all of a sudden I had this email and it said Reiki energy certification. So I was like, sign me up. And then my world shifted, and that was in 2018. And Yeah, I started taking a lot of like mediumship courses, learning about the angels. I bought like every book under the sun. Um, I started taking like the Akashic records, and I was really drawn to like earth medicine because I knew that there was something more than what we were giving people in healthcare. Like I knew there had to be something. So I was really drawn to shamanism. So I took a shamanic apprenticeship, and this whole world within me cracked open. And it was like, ah, this is what I've been missing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, what are you doing now? What does your career look like now?
So I own my own business now. I'm so excited. I've learned how to feel safe receiving
Mm,
after being in so many years of service, of giving, and being in other people's energy. Um, and so I have a beautiful business partner, Soul Sister, that I met in one of my mediumship courses. Like we just randomly came into each other's orbit, and we had the same exact like meditation. When we shared about it, we were like, oh, that's weird. And I in one of my shamanic journeys, I saw this business, and I just saw a tree. And then I like went into the tree, and I was like, wow, what is this? And they were like, this is your business. So branches of vibrational healing is what it's called. And I'm like, okay, whatever that means, let's go for it. And then when the whole pandemic happened, I when the vaccines were coming out, I was like, something in me doesn't feel right because I've done all of this work on myself, and I finally feel happy in my body.
mhm.
That putting something in me that I don't really know doesn't feel aligned. And I had to like really follow that, which then made me lose my job because I couldn't advocate for myself. And if I can't advocate for myself, it really didn't feel genuine to me to be able to advocate for my patients anymore.
Yeah.
So the universe had been setting me up for the last 4 years, like for branches and for my business. So when I got fired on Thanksgiving Day, um, I was like, I guess I'm all in. All right. And so I
Yep.
started my coaching business, which I incorporate all of the stuff I've learned spiritually and connecting with literally our intuition, which I know you're big on.
Yeah.
And really like empowering people to like believe that your intuition's your magic, it's your medicine. And so I do one-to-one coaching with that with my business. My business partner does the same. It's just a little different. She does more of like grief coaching. And then we both do like just different readings, mediumship, energy work, house clearings, land clearings, really anything under the universe except astrology. I'm not very, that's not my forte, but I appreciate it. Um, so yeah, I love what I do now. It's just I'm in another form of nursing
Hmm.
where I'm actually helping people get to the root of whatever their dis-ease is in their body. And I'm helping people see that fear is just it's on the same spectrum as love. And everything that we fear, we need to love, because if we don't, it develops as disease in our body.
Hmm.
And it's like that's the disconnection since birth. I feel like we start to develop is like not to believe in our intuition, right? Not to believe in our love. So that's
Oh,
my whole business is
that's so powerful. I love that. And I agree with it. That really resonates with me. That it's just two sides of the same coin,
Mhm.
and something that I've experienced and I try to help my clients with too is that if something is presenting itself to you, if you keep resisting it, if you keep letting the fear control it, then it's going to stick around. You literally have to, like you said, love it. Like let it be okay. Take it off that pedestal of like that fear
Mhm.
is putting it on, and just sit with it and not make it mean anything. Like it just is what it is. And
Yeah.
that's yeah, I love how you describe that. That's beautiful. Wow. So intuition definitely plays a huge role in your life, which I
Mhm.
love. Do you do you have some stories of how, I mean, you've some of what you've already shared, like I can tell it was all like intuitive to you. I'm wondering if you have other like specific stories that you'd be willing to share with us.
Yeah. So where do I start? So I've always had this like knowing of just life, which has been, and I tell a lot of people that come to me where like spirit tells me like they have a knowing. So like you can really support them here because I feel like the knowing is the hardest to really trust because it's not tangible in a sense, right?
Yeah.
But once you start to trust in this knowing, your other, we'll say gifts, your senses start coming more online. And so one of the first ones like that's really popping in strong, I was in Mexico 9 years ago, which was funny because I was thinking about this last night and I was like, wow, 9 is the number of new beginnings. How ironic, because next month would have been 9 years from this Mexico incident. So this
Yeah,
podcast is perfect timing, girl.
of course.
Really healing some wounds here. So I was in Mexico with two of my friends at the time, and we got this like excursion from the resort. One of them booked it through something, and we were on the boat. We had transportation to the boat, and when we were on the boat, I just felt this, and it was in like my legs, and it moved up into my body, and I was just like, "Ooh, I feel sick." And I was like, "Okay, but I knew it wasn't sickness because it wasn't. It was different, right?" And I'm like, "Ooh, my legs are shaky. I feel terrified. What's happening?" And so I was like, "Okay, well, I'm on a boat. Can't really do much about it. I'm definitely not going to drink like everyone else is because there's something going on."
Yeah. Yep.
And I was just kind of drawn to like the energies around like the people. And I just like some people were just like standing out to me. You know, when you walk into a room, you're like, I'm gonna keep my distance from some energies, right?
Yeah.
And so when we got off the boat, we were like, where's our ride? And the people were like, oh, there is no ride. And we're like, oh, okay, where's our resort? And they're like, oh, where are you staying? Oh, right down there. And we could like see the tip of it, like
Yeah.
down the street. It was the wrong resort. So none of our phones were working. So we're like, okay, well, let's just walk and maybe we'll get to a taxi stop or whatever. I'm already, now my whole body is like, something's not okay. And my two friends are like, wow, 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 you know? And I hear within me, look back. And I'm like, so I look back and there's this man who I saw on the boat walking behind us like intensely. And I'm like, and my body was just quivering. And I said to my friends, I was like, we got to go. Like, we got to walk faster. We got to walk faster. And what was probably 10 minutes felt like 3 hours to me. And I then looked back again because it was going up my spine. And I was like, something is really not okay here. And I know I'm not a paranoid person. And I have to trust my knowing here. And I see the person on the phone calling. And then I see this car, like there's like a highway in the middle of the two streets. And I see this car like and like make a turn. And I was like, guys, we have to go. We have to run. Like we're running across the street. And they're like, what? I'm like, just come. So we ran across the street. I'm not a runner. And I was like, I felt like a dog with short legs, like trying to catch up to like a bull mastiff. I was like, I can't get there. And all I heard was jump or die. And I was like, who is talking to me? Like, who is this? And I was like, jump. So I leaped in front of traffic and a taxi stopped, hit my leg, didn't like fall. I didn't fall. It was like grace of God.
Right.
Right. And I looked and I was like, oh my God, it's a taxi. And we get in the taxi. My friend, one of them just pissed. Like, and I'm like, just be quiet. And I'm telling the taxi driver the story. He's on the phone calling the police. He sees the car, gets the license plate. When we get to our resort, the police are already there. The manager's greeting us, like, you know. And the next day, they knocked on our door, and I was just in like, what was this? Like, am I making that up, right? Like, my friends are mad at me. Like, I ruined the night, blah, blah, blah. And he showed me that they arrested these men, and they were the ones trafficking women. Yeah.
Oh.
So that was when my intuition was in survival, God coming through, source, right? God has no gender, it's just source.
Yeah.
Literally speaking through my body of like, this is what survival feels like, and this is your intuition. So,
That is so powerful. And the intuitive hits really didn't make any sense.
right.
I suppose you could say, well, if there's a man walking intensely towards you, maybe, but leap or die, like out in front of, like who?
Yeah.
And the fact that, wow. So that takes a lot of courage to follow the nudges when they make like completely wrong sense, like that you could die jumping in front of a car. And I'm wondering, I know you said earlier about love and fear being on a spectrum, and the things that we fear we need to feed to love, or, love. And I'm wondering what your take is on when something like that is happening and it's so fearful. What do you think loving that situation is? Is it trusting the message? Is it setting boundaries? What's your take on that?
It's loving myself. And loving, because I've thought about this, because I'm like, wow, like, so I believe that before we incarnate, we put all of these potentials in our path to
Mhm.
learn from, right? And one potential that we decide shifts another potential, right?
Yep.
And so when I heard that, it was like, here's one of your potentials that could lead down a dark road. And so you have to trust your body. And I was like, I don't care if my friends are mad at me. Like,
Yeah.
I love my friends and I love me. And if I get hit by a taxi, I genuinely feel in my entire body that that would be better than whatever is going to happen back here. So it was like, it was the love for myself. And now that I'm talking about it, and I kind of want to cry, is like, because my body's like so happy right now, is like that, that was a huge trajectory in your life. And because when the vaccines were being mandated, that was another huge potential for me to choose me. When I had both of my family and my fiance's family did not agree with my choice. I lost friends over it. A lot of people shamed me and bullied me over my decision, telling me to do my job and that I don't care about people, which was the complete opposite, because
Mhm.
I gave 10 years of my life like helping people pass and like holding people's hand and putting myself to the side. So I was like, this is, excuse my language, bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
no one's even asked me if I'm happy. Like, and literally this past November, so 2023, Maria and I did one of our second festivals, and I was laying in bed at night, and this like message came through, and they showed, like, my guide showed me, hey, if you had gotten that shot and didn't listen to your intuition, you wouldn't be here right now for this festival. And I was like, huh, what do you mean? Like, because I'd still be nursing. And then they showed me my whole path, just like I was guided that day in Mexico, like jump or die.
Yeah.
And they showed me, because I had cancer developing on my stomach, which I didn't know when this whole thing was happening. And I kept having precancerous things in my cervix and my ovaries. And I was like, what is going on? Because I was taking in everyone's energy. And
Yeah.
like I was living in fear, I wasn't living in my truth. And they showed me that the melanoma on my stomach would have developed into like cervical cancer, and then all the way into pancreatic cancer, that I would have died like within 6 months of getting the shot. And I was like, holy shit.
What?
Yeah. So when I like tell people like to really trust your intuition, like what your body is telling you,
Mhm.
it's so important, because like you have no idea how powerful your voice is. And like when you have a nudge for something, you can't let the outside external opinions affect you, because it's like you either love yourself or you don't. And like, so it's helped me shift my whole trajectory of like what fear and love is really, when it's like,
Mhm.
because our intuition is it tells us when we're in fear, but it also tells us when there's unsafety around us too. And it tells us when we're in our light. And it's like, it literally tells us everything if we just pause. Power of pause, which I saw you love. I was so excited. I teach that too. I was like, I knew I love this girl. Um, when you really pause, right? You're like, what is my body telling me? Like, what is my
Mhm.
spirit telling me right now? Right. And then the answer comes, and it's like, it's up to you to love you and follow that, or to fear that. right? So,
Yeah, which one to follow. And I know I'm curious what your insight is on this piece of it, that oftentimes when the intuitive hit well, every time when the intuitive hit comes, it's like certain, calm, foundational, like it's just a knowing, right? We don't always want to hear it. Like
mm,
I wouldn't have wanted to hear, "Hey, jump out in front of that taxi." Like that would have been what? But it's not like, even when
mhm,
the initial impulse, intuitive impulse, is then met with fear, that impulse doesn't change. It's not like chaotic or erratic. It's just like pulsing, like, this is the way, this is the way.
mhm.
So what's your guidance on, like, I know how I tend to operate, but I'm curious what you think on how to mitigate that fear when, like, that pulsing isn't leaving, and like, that's the thing, but your rational mind is like losing its shit. Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so I can only speak from like personal experiences with so I've now shifted my mindset to like courageous imperfect actions. And
Yes, I love that.
when so when I left nursing, I was like, okay, I guess I'm going full into my business. And I literally was asking the universe, if I'm meant to do this, bring me some fairs to like put me out there, bring me some coaching clients to like make me believe in myself a little bit more too, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I was in all of a sudden, like, as I'm driving to work, knowing that it was my last shift, I get this, someone texts me, was like, hey, I'm doing this fair this weekend. Someone canceled. Do you want to do it? And I'm like, whoa, that was answered so fast. And so I was like, yes, right? And then I went into full blown fear of it. I was like, who am I? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, right.
And then I'm like, wait, I asked for it, right? So it's like, when you ask for things, it's always answered. It's just a matter of taking that leap, right?
Yep.
And so that morning, I remember getting ready for the fair, and in my I'm in my emotions from just losing my job, and I'm just like in it. And then I was like, I can't do today, blah blah. Blah. And I'm in the shower, and I was like, wait, I asked the spirit of water just to cleanse me, bring me clarity.
Mhm.
Is this fear because I'm not supposed to go today, or is this nerves because I'm stepping into a new me, and this is another layer of self love? Like, hmm. And it was just this like it was like this, duh, you're just in quote unquote fear of this new beginning. It's not bad.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh yeah. And so it was like this shift in my body. So I don't know if that helps answer the question, but I've learned to really like see in my body if it's coming from the legs and like this, I feel sick, I shouldn't go. And like it gets louder and louder, or like, hold on, if I ask and it's this like iffy, and there's a little curiosity there, it's like, it's definitely not fair, like, of anything bad. It's like fear of stepping into my truth, right? Which
Yeah.
is needed. Does that make sense?
It makes so much sense. And you brought up two really good points. One, I think it's so important to have just a continual conversation with yourself
Mhm,
and the universe, source, right? Like, just keep saying, like, is this fear this, or is it this? And you always get the answer,
mhm,
right? And I found so many women are feel like we have to be hyper independent to the point of not even asking the universe for help. Like, how crazy is that? It's like we're literally partners. It's a co-creation, like,
yeah,
but there's
yep,
been like conditioning or trauma or whatever that like prevents that. So I love that continual conversation. And the other thing is really knowing your body.
mhm,
Like, because like for me, when intuition is a no, I get a little like, it feels like a little key is turning in my stomach, and it's like a contraction. I was
mhm,
like, don't do that." But it's subtle. It's not, well, it gets louder if you don't listen, but at first it's
yes,
just like this little, yeah, right? It's um and when it's a yes, I feel in my chest like expansive and light and free.
mhm,
But that took years of,
mhm,
not that I think it has to take years. I don't want any woman out there thinking it doesn't have to take years. That was my path. Um, it took time for me to develop that relationship. So I love all of what you said. That's beautiful.
yeah, and, it's interesting because I was thinking about this earlier when I was getting ready, and because I've worked a lot of men too, but it's like I feel all of us, no matter our gender, have this fear around stepping into our power because we've never really done it. And I remember when like I was like, all right, universe, if I'm not getting this shot, like I need something more to like really help me bridge the gap between all of this wisdom I have. Like I need something that's like super tangible for me to like connect to. And then that's when I took trauma informed coaching and everything started to click, because in nursing we don't learn the nervous system and how like it works really. And
That's
so,
wild to me.
right?
That like what?
Yeah. Yeah. We're like, oh, the brain has this neuron and this, and it's like, cool. And then you take this drug. It's so in the trauma informed coaching, I was able to like bridge spiritual realm, medical realm, and then like how our body actually holds on to tones and situations. So when something is happening and we feel triggered, I mean, even when something's not happening, right? But we maybe hear a tone, we get triggered and we're like, we go into panic. Even if there's nothing threatening happening, we feel it.
Yes.
So, like, the coaching taught me, like, okay, breathe, check into your body, right? And so it doesn't have to take years. It just has to
Right.
take that moment to pause, like we love to do, right? And it's interesting because so this morning I was thinking, women hold the womb of creation in us, right? We literally create life. And it's like once us as women trust in stepping into our divinity, into our like goddess energy, and trust ourselves, it will, and express ourselves to know that we're not too much. It will also empower men to do the same.
Yes.
Where it's not in this wounded space. It's not in this controlling, judging. It's like, oh, I see you. I hold space for you. You hold space for me,
Yes.
you know? And it starts with trusting our intuition by seeing what our body is really saying.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of past life regressions and past life readings with people. And it's not just women, it's men too. But the majority of women are just really afraid to express how they're feeling. Like, I have this beautiful coaching client in Portugal I was working with the other day, and we got to like the root cause of she has these neck shakes and she's had them for like 20 years. And I had her like connect to it and we went into it, and it was re-triggered in this life when her dad died, because she felt very alone and her dad was her best friend.
Mm-hmm.
But also it was from other lives where she wasn't able to fully express herself, and like she'd be a queen, or she had like different, gifts, we'll say,
Mm-hmm.
and she couldn't utilize them in the way that was accepted or whatever. And so it developed this pain in her neck, and then when her dad died in this reality, it re-triggered it. So she's had the shakes ever since. So it's been like grief on top of grief from not being able to be yourself.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
like she felt this whole healing move through her entire body, and she was like, wow, it all came from not being able to express that I feel super alone, even though there's tons of people around. And I'm like, it just brought a whole new level of awareness of how women really feel like scared that we're too much or we need to be too little. We can't
Mm-hmm.
just be, right? Like we can't just be. And so I love that you're doing this podcast. It's like letting people know you can just be. Like, babe, you're a badass. Like, just be.
Yes. And that your experience is valid. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter if, I mean, it is unique, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't match up with or resonate with anyone else. It's valid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And take
Your
up
truth.
space. Take up the freaking space. Like, do it.
That's why you're here. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
yeah.
So just to kind of wrap up that part of what you're saying, because one of my questions is always, what do you think the barriers are to women trusting their intuition? And you've kind of touched on it, but if you wouldn't mind just, speaking about it again, and if there's anything else that you haven't touched on, I'd love to know.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of our barriers as women, it's our throat chakra. It's actually, it really comes down to the disconnection from source and not trusting our imagination, and being told as we grow up, like, Oh, you're making that up. Oh, that's not real. There's nothing happening.
All the gaslighting.
Yeah.
All of it.
Be quiet, this and that, right? And it's like, and then especially, so I had this like conversation with another coaching client, and I made a YouTube about it, but it was like the hiding that we feel like we need to go in, especially around our hormones and our sexuality when we get our period. Like, there's this like, and then my cousin, her daughter, she goes to a Catholic school, and they're making them get the HPV vaccine at like 9 years old. And I'm like, why are we like? So there's all of this stuff coming in that's external, and that's making us, in a sense, be separate from our own internal medicine.
Yeah.
And it's like just right in our face. So it's hard for us to even know that that's what's happening. Right. And
it's posed differently. It's posed
yeah.
like, this is to help you. This
is safe. This will keep you safe.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're already safe, but we're like taught that we're not.
I mean,
so it shuts down that internal trusting womb of creation that is like literally in us, always talking to us. And like, I truly feel that the more we question what's being told outside of us and like sit within ourselves to see what's going on, we can truly come out of hiding to know like it's okay saying you're not okay today. It's okay, like, because I've been very, very open with my fiance. Like, it is the first relationship I've been very communicative about everything, because he met me when I was not in the spiritual realm and then watched me shift. And I was like, and he just sits there and looks at me because I'm like, I'm crossing over people in Hawaii right now, even though I'm sitting in the car, like, because spirit just comes in and I listen, because it's like, we're multidimensional beings.
Yeah.
And we have so much love to share, and it just runs through us 24/7. But since we're born, if, not everyone, some people, we choose our parents, we choose everything, right? But like, based on our potentials, like, do we really begin to listen to that source that runs through us? Because we're not taught to, right? And so I feel like those are the barriers, is that there's so many barriers in the systems to be that don't teach us that the truth is in us. The medicine's in us, right? Like, when you have a pain in your body, place your hand on it, breathe, and be like, what do you want to share with me, babe? Like, what's going on? And you'll get the answer.
Every time.
And like, I also feel like there's so much out there, especially now, like with media, like how we're supposed to act, and even with like, so a lot of the coaching, there's all these, I don't know if you see these ads, but it's like, make 10K first, whatever, make 60. And I'm like, okay, that sounds really good. But like, when I sit with it, it's like, it doesn't feel authentic to me.
Yeah.
Right. And so I feel like there's just so many distractions that prevent us from really seeing self, right? Like loving self.
Yeah.
And something I want to share real quick is it's coming in. So when I was still working in the hospital and like all of this stuff was happening, I was seeing people walking that weren't there. It's like, I'm like, oh, this is freaky. I remember this story. I mean, the situation where I was helping one patient in the bed A, and the patient in bed B, I could feel the energy, and they were just really going through a hard time. And throughout the entire shift, I kept getting this like guidance, because it was coming up my back, right? So you get the turnkey for the no, right? Me, when it's a yes, it's like this calm, and then it gets louder, like chills, and like, you got to do it. You got to do it, right? To give this person like a crystal in my bag. And I was like, no, absolutely not. Like everyone on this floor already thinks I'm like the angel of death. And like, they really do. They call me the angel of death. And they were like, hey, do you have any spray? Like, so you can just go in there and clear out that room. Like, we know you know how to do it. And I'm like, and so when I'm being told to give this guy a crystal, I was like, I don't even know who the patient is. Like, and I don't want to piss off the nurse. And so I remember just like sitting in the bathroom, like, am I supposed to do this? Like, it's so loud. So at the end of the shift, I I go in my bag, I get the crystal, I look up the person's name on the board. I'm like, all right, I'm making sure the nurse is sitting down. I'm like, all right, here I go. And I walk in the room, I turn the corner and I like move the curtain. I was like, hi. And they're sitting there crying. It's this like older guy. I was like, hello. And they're like, hi. I'm like, and I was so nervous. I was like, but I knew I had to do it, right? I was like, gotta trust it. And I was like, I just feel like I need to give you something. Is that okay? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I handed him the crystal and I wrote a little note of what the crystal does. And I was like, this is for you. And I just felt like putting it on his chest. And he just like started crying more and like held me and looked at me and was like, my son just got in a terrible accident. And like, there's something, they feel like there's something going on with his heart. And that's where I put the crystal. And he's like, this just brought me so much warmth. Like, thank you. And I was like, and he just like looked into my soul. And I was like, you're welcome. And I just like hugged him and he just like calmed down. And I was like, whoa. I walked away. And that was like, this is why I had to share this, because that was the first time my intuition of like, hey, this is really good. This person needs you. Who gives an F what anyone else says? Like, let this person see you. Let this person see your heart, right? It came up in my back and like chilled through me. And like I shared it, I expressed, right? And it made it like, it was just this soul to soul connection. And that's what like, the more you have those, even just one, it's like, oh my God, we are all souls. Like, we're not just this physical body, we're souls, you know? So I had to share that.
I love that so much. And as you were saying it, I had chills. So for whatever that's worth, like that was insane. I didn't want to interrupt you to tell you that, but that was amazing. And it's not that I love what you said about the ads about like, oh, make 10K while you sleep. And like, it's not that any of those things are bad, that nothing is inherently good or bad, but you're right. Like it has to feel right for you. And like you said, when we just have those little moments of connection, to me, they all add up.
Mm-hmm.
And, we can be conditioned, right, to be so hyper fixated on these goals that don't even matter to us. Like, I know for like, yes, do I think money is fantastic? Yes, in the sense that it helps me do things and express things. And, it's freedom and security and all those fun things. But what lights me up is those moments like you were talking about, those little synchronicities, like, oh, it's heaven to me when those things happen. Like,
Yeah.
this is my favorite thing. I love
It's
it.
heaven on earth. It
It
is.
is. It's
It
so
is.
good. It's so good. I love it. Oh,
Yeah.
you are amazing. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I mean, I could talk to you all day.
I
Like,
know, right? So good.
I just love this world. So, I don't know. Nothing's really, I mean, I have a bunch of stuff I can share, but I don't know. My business partner and I are going to be doing a retreat in April. We've been doing festivals. It's going to be our first retreat in Sedona. We have a few practitioners joining us for like breath work, and we really help you tap into like your internal medicine and to like trust it.
And in Sedona, like how perfect can you get? Like, come
Yeah,
on.
we're so excited. The universe was like, go time. And I've been wanting, so you know how you said everything adds up?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a big vision board person, just my preference. I'm a big like I'll write things out, I'll draw them
Mm-hmm.
versus 'cause I feel like it's putting my energy into it. And so I literally found my paper like 3 months ago and it said retreats. And I told Maria and Maria was like, I'm not ready. And then I was like, universe, I'm ready. Like, let's make it happen. And then all of a sudden she's like, so I've been thinking. And I was like, yes. And the universe just made everything align, like everything. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
see, you can't deny this stuff, right? So we're doing that. And then I'm offering for people the first Tuesday of every month. It's called Awareness Alchemy, which I bring in the energies of the month to really, and with light language, meditation, and just wisdom around how to connect with your body with the energies that are happening. And January was all about being free and freedom, and it's been super transformative for people that have like that joined it.
Mm-hmm.
So do that. That's on my site. And then yeah, I just want to tell everyone that we're limitless, badass beings, and the only thing holding us back is ourselves. So we need to listen to those nudges, love ourselves, and like know that when life is sticky, right? And there's those moments of contraction that we all go into, you chose to have that contraction at that moment. You chose that. And I know that sounds a little not nice, but before we incarnated, right? Like we chose, like I said, all of our potential. So if we chose to have a sticky situation to happen, we also chose the answer. We chose the beauty, that the expansion that comes after it. So allow yourself to sit in those contractions, in those sticky situations, and to know that your feelings are valid. There is no bad feeling. There is no wrong or right. And like, you are this limitless being of love. You have this body that's here to experience all of it. And fear is here to teach you to love yourself. Like, it's truly here to teach you to love yourself and to love the world around you. So when I'm feeling like in my stuff, I'm like, wait, I chose this to happen at this time. That's pretty cool. I wonder what's going to happen after. I wonder what's going to happen on the other side of this. I wonder how long this uncomfortableness is going to last. I'm like, And then the more you like allow that freedom of that feeling to come in, the less the constriction is, right? Because it's like, I'm allowing, because I appreciate all of it, right? And I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you. This is amazing. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
My website, branchesofvibrationalhealing.com. I have an Instagram, a TikTok, and a YouTube. The YouTube is, what's it called? Oh, Shamanic Soul Sisters. I was like, what is it? And my email is the best way, though. Samantha at branchesofvibrationalhealing.com.
Okay, fabulous. Well,
Yeah.
this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all of your insight.
Thank you for having me and for allowing people to have a voice on this. It's beautiful. We're fierce, badass beings.
Indeed, we are.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. If you feel that this episode will help another woman, please share it. Until next time.